Hey guys, what's going on? It's Savage here, and today I'm with my good pal Slcmof. Introduce yourself, buddy.
Hello.
That's Slcmof. And today we're gonna be talking about Rocksteady and the games that honestly we want to see them make because out of all of the games that they've deconfirmed, there are a lot that they can still make that are still good. And honestly, I would want to see a bunch of these that we have on our list. So Slick, why don't you start us off? What do you want to see from Rocksteady?
Well, we were just before we went live, we were just shit talking the side missions in Arkham Knight. So I was sort of thinking about, well, what could have an engaging story, first of all, but also have interesting side missions. And first on my list that I just thought of right away was a Superman game, but they already said they're not making that. Okay, so screw that. Next, the next one that I thought would actually take place in the Arkhamverse, which would be really interesting, and that would be a Nightwing and Batgirl sort of duo game. Okay,
Oh,
so
dang,
this would,
that's a good one.
yeah,
Mine was just
so
Nightwing. But
okay, so this would be a game where would take place early in their careers, perhaps, and they're not with Batman for whatever reason. I don't know how you would put that into the story, but anyway, it's just them. They're in Bloodhaven together, and it's a dual play game. You basically build upon the dual play features of Arkham Knight, except that the entire game is that way. So you can switch at any moment between both characters. They have unique combat features, kind of like in Arkham Knight, but build upon it a lot more. So you would want to make them distinctly different. Batgirl is a little quicker and, sleeker, but Nightwing can beat people up easier. That kind of thing. So they have different abilities, different utility. So that would be really interesting and expanding upon the dual play feature. And then also it would be a kind of a romantic story, which I know a lot of people wouldn't be interested in, but as a fan of both these characters, they're one of the most iconic romances in comics, in my personal opinion. So sort of showing that and how their relationship builds over time from a acquaintanceship to a friendship to a romantic interest would be really interesting. And in that, you could have them have those personal relationships. So it wouldn't just be them fighting the whole game. It would be, have some personal cutscenes and, them going to the fair, because that's a really iconic, scene where Dick Grayson returns to not the fair, but the circus. And so anyway, that's one of the most iconic comics, Birds of Prey, number 27, I think it was. So I would implement that because I'm a big fan of that comic. But anyway, just the whole idea is you sort of build upon that relationship and just have a solid duo game with some, features and some surprise cameos, but nothing crazy. No Batman. So
okay, I would say yeah to that one, kind of, but there would only be one problem. I wouldn't put it in the Arkhamverse because there's no such thing as a Dick and Barbara relationship.
that's a good point.
So, so anyway, it would be like out of canon, but that's actually a really, really good game. I would honestly love to see that. I just said Nightwing for mine, but Nightwing and Barbara having a dual play system the entire game, that would actually be really cool because it would make the player kind of connect with them a little bit more and have their relationship feel more impactful based off of the gameplay alone. Like that's just really smart. And then the
Mm-hmm.
story would come into play and it would affect it even more. So I think that would be a really good little spin-off game from the Arkham games if they wanted to change the continuity a little bit, or if it was just like a standalone game by itself. That would be really dope.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's hear two of your ideas.
Okay, well, mine, you already took my Nightwing one. So the
Okay.
next one I had was the Flash one. I think the Flash one would be honestly the best game ever if it was made by Rocksteady, because you already have the combat there. You already have somewhat of a story in a city that you can explore. I think the streets are wide enough in Arkham Knight that you can actually have the Flash run through them, in my opinion, in the high speed battle or whatever. But I think that if they have a Flash game, they can introduce Reverse Flash. They can have a whole slew of rogues be included in this game, and the gameplay itself would probably be like the best gameplay around from Rocksteady, because I think that their gameplay is smooth, and I honestly believe that the driving in Arkham Knight isn't bad at all. It is overused and repetitive, but it isn't bad. It's just really boring. But I think that if they translate the Batmobile to like the Flash and like make it a little bit smaller character and make him run around the city, I think that can actually work really well.
I definitely agree. I mean, I would really love to see that. And I think about sort of the possibilities with that, with the combat. I mean, people already joke around that like Arkham Knight, he flies from one guy to the other like he's
He
the
does.
Flash.
He
So, but
does.
it would be actually really easy to port that over the Arkham Knight combat, free flow combat system, because the Flash, he's so fast. he does free flow combat, basically,
Yeah.
when you think about it in that sense. So there would be, I mean, it wouldn't be easy. Like, it's not just like, just put the Flash costume over Batman in the Arkham Knight. No,
Course,
you've got
yeah.
to do a lot with it. But I think the foundations are there. And narratively, I think that they've shown that they could do a pretty good job with that. It would be a challenge for them because they've never really done a comedic character. They've never really done this funny type of
Okay, first I gotta
know?
stop you there. Barry isn't funny unless they do Wally. Then it's funny. Okay,
That's fair.
Slick. But
Okay, but if they're
fuck
basing
Barry.
it off the CW Flash
Oh
canon,
Jesus Christ, they
excuse
better
me.
not be.
Yeah, well, I mean, Wally West would be in the game, most certainly.
Oh yeah, yeah. They would have to do like I don't think Nightwing was a good comedic character in Batman Arkham Knight. So
That's
I do
what I
agree
mean.
that
Nightwing's
they
supposed to
don't
be
have
funny,
comedic
but he
depth.
wasn't even funny in the Arkham game,
They were trying really hard with him, dude.
They were. But no, I totally agree. That would be really cool. So what would you want to see villains-wise?
I mean, villains. It has to be Reverse Flash. That has to be like the main villain for the
Okay.
first game. I want to see some form of time travel. Like I said in one of my other videos about the Flash, that they can use the Speed Force as like a home operation or like a base for the Flash, and then later down the road,
Oh.
and then later down the road when Reverse Flash comes in, and then like the negative Speed Force comes into play, then you guys start fighting through the Speed Forces, and like gets destroyed, and then you can't really use it, or like you guys travel through time through that stuff and whatnot. But I think that Reverse Flash is just a perfect villain for the first game, and to set up like the boss battles and stuff. I think the boss battles would be insane with the Flash and all of his rogues, like I was about to say Mr. Freeze, Captain Cold, and the Rogues. Like I just want to see like the Rogues team up and go after the Flash, because again, that would be a good boss battle if all of them go after you at once. Grodd, that would be a pretty good addition. Just overall, Grodd and Gorilla City would be nice to see. And I just think that the rogues for the Flash, all of them work. Any of them can really just be shoved in there. If they want to bring in the multiverse, they could bring in Jay Garrick. If they want to bring in time travel, they can bring in Bart Allen. They could still use time travel with Reverse Flash. Everything can be built upon and set up before you do a little finale and you tie everything up in the ending of the story. And I think that Rocksteady can definitely pull off something narratively for a Flash game. And in terms of gameplay, they definitely already have that foundation, like you said, to build off of. And I just see something really wonderful there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. On an aside, do you know who my favorite Flash villain is, have I told you?
No, who do you who?
Abracadabra.
You really like Abracadabra?
I really like Abracadabra. He's more
Oh,
of
did you like his did you read the Titans New 52 one?
no, not
Or
New 52, Rebirth. Yeah,
Rebirth. That's what it was. Abracadabra was a really good villain there.
He was really good in that, and he was in the Flash for an episode, right? Was he any good?
No.
Okay, I figured
He
not.
teased Savitar for season 3, and then he left, and then it was really bad. And it's nothing like the comics.
Was he
wouldn't have
he
liked it.
more than an episode?
He was in one episode, or I think he was in 2 episodes, but then that was it. And then he got sent back to the future, and then
As
that was
soon
it.
as soon as I heard he was going to be a live action, I was like, "Wow, this is going to be a fucking train wreck." Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss
Yeah,
on your
it
channel.
was.
You can bleep that out.
No. I cuss all the time. It was a fucking train wreck.
Okay, so let me go into the next game that I would like to see, and this is, if I had to guess, what is the most likely? I'm gonna say Titans. Titans. Speaking of Abracadabra, okay, so if it were up to me, Abracadabra would be the main villain.
Okay.
Okay, so Abracadabra, in case you don't know, he's like a fake magician. He's not really a magician. He can time travel, and he's from the future, like the far, far future. So
Yeah.
it looks like he's really good at magic, but he's really not. He just is from the future and has like super crazy tech that can make him look like he's good at magic. And he wants to go into the past to make it, so he can be a good magician, right? But he's really just using future technology. So he's like a fraud in that sense. So he's not really a magician. So anyway, he's a really cool villain in my personal opinion. And so I would like to see him there, Titan. So we could have Wally West leading the team. We could have some aspect of Justice League members mentoring the Titans, which is something more that you see with Teen Titans, but I think with Titans it could be really cool as well. Having Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Superman maybe in the game very briefly. Of course, we'd still want it to be their own game. Starfire, Beast Boy, all that kind of stuff. That would be really cool. We talked about off air just before the video, talking about a third-person type game. So we wouldn't want this game to be Marvel Ultimate Alliance at all. But we would want it to be a third person where you could have maybe some dual play features that they built in Arkham Knight. build upon that more, you could, we talked about having a spin wheel for Beast Boy, so you can you can have a preset of like 10, 12 animals you want to change into.
Oh, it would be beautiful.
That would be really badass, no doubt about it. So you could go that direction, and you could also have Starfire, and they each have their own unique abilities, and it's kind of like basically what we're envisioning, I think, is really Arkham Knight, just with Starfire and Wally West and Beast Boy, and that dual play that you can switch in between characters and fight a bunch of thugs. But the worst thing that they could do is Marvel Ultimate Alliance, in my personal opinion. Just, it would not be ideal. Nothing wrong with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but it's just not Rocksteady. It's not what they're good at. So
yeah, I mean, if Rocksteady made a Teen Titans game in the form of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I would lose my shit in a bad way. But I mean, like, they have the dual play feature down. I know it would be a little bit more complicated with 5 characters instead of 2, because they only limit themselves to 2 characters in Arkham Knight. Even though they teased 3 at the end of one of their trailers, whatever. I'm not even gonna get into that.
They did.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, they did.
Nightwing
You're right.
and Batman standing on a rooftop. I'm like, wait a fucking minute. And then they did nothing with it. But with Titans, if there was 5 characters, I think it could still work, of course, with the wheel thing. Kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where you're switching between 3 characters, but it's 5. And then the same thing with Beast Boy. That would just be amazing. I can't believe that, they didn't do that yet. And Wally West would have, I mean, that would be a good setup if they want to do a Flash game in the future. Oh, Wally West is here. He's still, Kid Flash. There's still a Flash out there. Like, that would be still interesting to have, too. And if there is going to be, like, Donna Troy or whatever, everything just really works for a Titans game if, they have a good lineup of characters. And overall, I feel like they can do it.
Uh-huh.
But sure. I want it, too. Like, I know what you mean.
Definitely. And as I said, if I had to guess, like, if I had to bet money, what's the most likely? Superman, no. Batman, no.
Nope.
Wonder Woman could see it, but I really think Titans is the most likely out of everything. Definitely. Okay, do you have another one? I have another one that's really interesting.
I have one more, and it's Green Arrow. I want to see a Green Arrow game, just simply because, well, the combat's already there for the hand-to-hand. The bow and arrow thing can work as well, because most of them are non-lethal bows, or non-lethal arrows. So you can just pull them out and shoot somebody with, like, a boxing glove, and that could be, like, one of the batarangs or whatever, So you have the gadget wheel for the bow, and then you have the combat that's already there for, like, Batman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you already have everything set up. If you want to include another character that has hand-to-hand combat and abilities, you can add Black Canary. Boom, right there. You already have dual play. If you want to add another character, you can add Roy Harper, Arsenal, or Red Arrow. Boom, there you go. That's easy.
Yep.
And then for the villains, you could have Vertigo. I'm not really too, keen on Green Arrow villains. That's like one of the only ones I know. But like Vertigo, if you want to add like, just like Deathstroke, you could. That was an interesting villain for season 1 or season 2 of Green Arrow. So that'll be still fun to have. But a Green Arrow game altogether already has the foundation for it. There's already teases in it in Arkham Knight. So if, Green Arrow appeared out of nowhere, I wouldn't be shocked by it. And you can have teases in Green Arrow with, like the Wayne tech and stuff like that. You can just shove that in there and it's all connected now. So I just want to see a Green Arrow game. And I think that it works already with Arkham.
And most importantly, whatever Arrow does, do the exact opposite. That's all I have to say about that. Whatever Arrow does, the TV show, do the exact opposite.
Yes, yeah. No, yeah. Please, Jesus Christ, do not base any video game on CW.
I mean, it's not, like, I'm not trying to just bash it. It's just not comics. So I think that what they've done really well with the Batman Arkham games is actually trying to replicate and borrow from the comics a great deal. So that's what I think they should do and go for the comics version of Green Arrow.
Translation would be perfect. I mean, 100%. I think he just needs to be not what he was in a TV show. Comedic is what he needs to be.
I think of all the things that we mentioned, that's probably the most feasible game.
He's a social justice warrior. I don't think you would like him.
I've read his comics. I know. And I mean, it caught me off guard because I didn't know that about him, because I thought it really did, because
that's great.
Because in Arrow he's not like that at all. So, but anyway, it's interesting. So, my final game. I think it's interesting, but I'm biased, of course, because I came up with the idea. This would be another duel type game, starring 2 characters, and this would be a Joker and Harley Quinn game.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Okay. So, hear me out. we could have dual play similar with the Joker and Harley Quinn, each of them having their own separate abilities, etc., etc. It would be a game about their, well, we could maybe featured in the Arkhamverse. It could maybe be about their rise to prominence as a Gotham villain. So it would be, in Arkham Asylum, who's the first villain we see? Besides the Joker, and then Harley Quinn, who saves him. So, maybe it'd be interesting to look at before that, like how did they meet in this Arkhamverse, and we can maybe get into, of course, they have a kid in the animated series, especially Batman Beyond. So we could see that as well. That would be really interesting. I think there's just so much opportunity. We could actually be fighting Batman for the first time.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too.
That would be really cool. So we could be the Joker and Harley Quinn fighting Batman, Batgirl, Robin, and having our own thugs and like fighting with them and our Joker goons. That would be really cool. I just think there's a lot of potential there, and they're crazy, wild, unpredictable characters. You could have a crazy, unpredictable story and really interesting gameplay dynamics. So that's my idea for that.
Yeah, they could also build off of the Batman or Batgirl, A Matter of Family or whatever that was, because they had dual play in the final boss battle, if you remember. It was Robin and Batgirl versus Joker and Harley Quinn.
You're right.
So they already kind of have it, so they could work off of that. The story would be, if you want to put any Arkham games or whatever, you could, and then you can actually have maybe Harley Quinn can start. You can play as Harley Quinn first, and then you break out the Joker, and then you become Harley Quinn, and then that's where the story goes. And then you can play as both Harley Quinn and Joker in dual play, and then like the Harley Quinn story pack, you can fight Nightwing or something with Poison Ivy like that. That's actually a really good idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, so then it would be kind of like this deja vu moment where it's like, oh, I understand where we are, and now I know what happens before and after that moment where Harley Quinn is in Bloodhaven, so you could have that aspect of it, and I just think it would be really interesting. Also, you could follow, maybe it'd be interesting to have Harley Quinn be kind of the main character that you follow. We understand how she becomes under his spell. Maybe the game begins with her in like college, and we can see some cutscenes there, becoming a psychiatrist or psychologist, and then coming into Arkham Asylum and her experiences working in Arkham Asylum, coming under the Joker's spell and becoming kind of wooed by him. I think it would all be really, really cool. So I would love to see that. I think that it's actually a game that, although it seems quirky, it would actually be doable because it's kind of mainstream and marketable. Like the game would sell a lot.
Yeah, Harley Quinn would definitely sell a lot of games. If like her name was on that copy first, I think that if it was based around her and it was her story, I think she would sell a lot.
Right, and that's the thing about like a Nightwing and Batgirl game, as cool as I think it would be, and it's like my favorite idea on my list. I don't think it's like necessarily super likely because they're not necessarily mainstream popular characters compared to the Joker, for instance. So I think that it would be very doable. Do I think they're doing it? Absolutely not, but it would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, is there any other games that you got on your list?
That was all four of them.
That was basically all mine. I was gonna say like a Justice League game, but I still don't think they're gonna be working on that either.
No, I don't. I think it's too insurmountable, too hard to overcome. We know from the Avengers project that Square Enix is doing. That game is going to be like a decade-long project, and
who knows what? They're still working on it and shit. And they revealed like a CGI trailer, like they did with like all the other games,
like 3 years
really
ago,
bad.
And there's been nothing. And the thing I see on Twitter, people complaining about how we didn't get news and they were promised it, and I'm just like, we can get a trailer. It can be like Death Stranding, where we get a trailer every year, but that doesn't mean that shit's coming out before 2025, And it's just like, I don't know. I don't understand the obsession with like getting a trailer for that game in particular when it's like so far away. They're literally making an Avengers game. When you think about it in those terms, like the challenges of making that must be unreal. So I wouldn't expect the game, legitimately, I'm not being hyperbolic, before 2023. I just don't see it coming. It's literally, it's going to be one of those games that it takes a decade. It's going to be that Final Fantasy, one of those types of games that it's going to be forever before we get it.
Yeah, I haven't really heard much about it besides the shit that we gotten, but like, it's really been insane that there's been no news about it. And honestly, if Rocksteady were to make a Justice League game, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, take a few long years for it to be coming out. Like
I don't think
time,
they're
like
doing
a
it though.
decade.
I don't think they're doing it.
Yeah, they're not doing it though.
I don't think Superman's going to be in the game at all.
No.
Whatever they do, I think it could be Titans. It could be, Green Arrow, but it's just not going to have Superman in it. They already said that he's kind of deconfirmed.
Yeah.
They're not making a Superman game. They're not making a game with Superman in it. So Justice League is not happening, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. So they have lots of good options. So we'll see what they end up going with.
Yeah, and maybe they'll go with one of our options and the games that we want. But honestly, that's about it. That's all we got for this video. Slick has a video on his channel that has me in it. So go check him out. Go subscribe to him if you haven't already. And Slick, do you want to say anything else?
No, thank y'all so much for watching. And I'm going to outro on your own channel. See you guys in the next one.